Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. I hear him chatting the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls better tell me I'm awesome. Yeah, hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my, please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. We came for one man, forget my peace. We take the west side, take on the east. I'ma put him in the cage, never let out the. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Man so tough, but mans keep walking. Yeah, just too sharp with the prize. White girls better tell me I'm awesome. Yeah, hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my, please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
Stugotz, you smell that? Is that me?
Probably.
I smell it back here.
Yeah. Do you smell that too?
I do. I know exactly what that smell is.
Hold on.
I can't quite place it.
Everyone take a sniff.
Yeah, deep sniffs.
Augusta?
No, not
Close.
quite.
It's close.
Not quite. You know what I smell? I smell playoffs, baby.
Wow.
Oh, the NBA playoffs started last night. I know the schedule doesn't say that. But boys, if you watched basketball last night, man, even the Spurs made the playoffs last night. How about that? Victor Wembanyama versus Nikola Jokic. That was a great game. There were so many great games last night.
The Heat and Knicks, yes. So you're declaring that the NBA playoffs have begun.
The playoffs have started. I was at Heat Knicks, and first of all, the crowd was incredible. I've never seen this before. It was legit NCAA tournament style 50-50.
It really was.
Like, I know there are usually a lot of Knicks fans in the building for Heat games. This one felt obnoxious to the point where, we got dueling MVP chants for Brunson and for Butler. Every time they went to the free throw line, like loud MVP chants. And then B, there was a point late in the game where the crowd was chanting, "Let's go, run! Let's go, run!" And I could not tell whether it was Knicks or Heat. It was that many people shouting at the same time. It was incredible. And by the way, let me just say right now, this ain't your older brother's Knicks. They're
good.
They're good,
Yes.
man. They're like, there's a point when I'm watching, like, holy shit, like they used to make mistakes and like you knew they were gonna do something boneheaded down the stretch. Like, no, not these guys.
I do like that they're staying in these games on the road against a team like the Heat, and they're without two of their best players.
Sure, I mean the Heat.
Like they're doing it with McBride.
McBride's nice.
Whose Knicks
is.
are they, though? Are they like your uncle's Knicks?
These are your Knicks.
Yeah, only your Knicks because they
Well,
haven't
not
won
yours.
for anybody.
Lehman. These are Lehman's Knicks, and Taylor, and who else is a Knicks fan around
Pablo
here?
Torre.
Pablo Torre. We don't know who's.
He's got a lot of teams.
He's Sixers one day. He's Knicks the next. Who knows?
Really coming from you?
He's often at Nets games with Jason Sudeikis.
What?
Yeah.
What do
He's
you
got
mean?
his little basketball crew. He was
And
in
wants
Albany.
everyone to know about it.
Yeah, he was in Albany with Sudeikis, Ezra Edelman. Like there's a little crew there of hoopers.
I feel like we didn't. First of all, they're not hoopers.
Hoop watchers.
Yes.
Hoop watchers.
I got to see those J's.
Thank you.
Real hoop watchers, no.
Look at that. There he is with a very self-serving selfie. Like, how do you do this? I don't do this. I don't ask people. Even if I'm friends with them, I don't ask, hey, man,
Like,
let's
that's
take
the
this.
point in the night when Sudeikis regretted it the most.
Yep.
When Pablo's like, hey, can we do a selfie? He's like, oh, we're doing this.
You know what that is? There's probably some dude in that group of hoop watchers that didn't make it to Albany. And you take a picture, hey, let's send to so-and-so. And then you got your picture
And then you
post.
Then you post it.
To make that person jealous?
That's the move.
Have
That
you
was
ever,
probably
have you
for
ever
ride
been in
home.
one of these selfies?
Yeah. Have I
Who's
been
the
in-
most famous person that you've taken one of these? Oh, let's send this to so-and-so. Because I did it with Dan Patrick once.
Really?
Wow. DP.
Who'd you send it to?
Dan Le Batard.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Priya.
DL.
I did do that with Colin Cowherd at WrestleMania last year.
You
think
sent it
that's a
to
good
Colin
answer.
Cowherd or
No.
with
I took a picture of Colin Cowherd. Like, we selfied it
Yeah.
to send to Dan.
Oh, okay. You guys use Dan a lot in these.
Well, that's the move. And then, like the memories pop up 1 year ago. Oh, yeah, let me post that with Colin Cowherd.
It's all about the memories, man. Stugotz, have you ever pulled this move? Like, take a selfie with someone famous under the guise of, I'm sending this to Dan?
No, I want it for me. That's the way I go about it. Like, hey, I like you. Let's take a selfie together. I'm not sending it to anyone.
Have we discovered the one place where Stugotz is actually going to be honest and straightforward? You tell them, like, no, this is for my purposes.
Stugotz has done this. It's just ended up being someone else. So
that's right.
Not Aaron Rodgers.
Not Aaron Rodgers.
For what it's worth, the selfie was in response to a fan who had tweeted at Pablo saying he thought he saw Pablo in the crowd around Sudeikis and Ezra Edelman.
No, it wasn't.
Look, he
it
took
was
the
not in
selfie
response.
one way or another.
It was
but
not in response. He
it's
just had this in
where
the
he
bag, and he's
posted
like,
it.
you know what?
Bless you.
Okay.
You good?
I'm back.
In Pablo's
God
defense
bless you.
of that point, I did just see Pablo during that broadcast where I was like, was that Pablo that I
Oh,
just saw?
I'm gonna
Before I had seen all the pictures.
I'm going to tell you what I saw before I saw the pictures. I saw a video, like like Caitlin Clark hit a three, the replay, they're showing her
Right.
running back up court.
High
And as
fives.
they pan, not just high fives, I saw Pablo doing like the 3-point sign like she does. And I said, there's your objective journalist, Meadowlark Media. Right there.
It's a big Iowa fan now, huh?
All of a sudden,
Right.
out of the blue.
Yesterday was just a market correction for him.
He wants us to talk about this. You know, he like sent the picture to Slack and was like, in case you guys bring up the fact that I was with Jason Sudeikis, because they put this up during PTI yesterday. Him and Kornheiser were talking about it, and I'm like,
God.
oh, you know, he sent this to the producers.
Okay.
we should
All
get Pablo on to talk about
You
this.
know what? I'll get on.
It's a good idea.
I'll shoot him a text right now.
Just this.
I'll ask him to come on and answer for his sins against humanity. This guy, Pablo Torre. I'm beginning to see what you see in him, Stugotz.
What do you mean? What I see in him?
this guy.
I've never said anything bad about Pablo.
All he sees in him is a plug.
And the guy's figuring stuff out. I don't see anything.
The Heat and Knicks, though. I mean,
Finding out.
It's fine.
Featuring.
the Heat and Knicks, right? So
Yes.
that game last night pulls the Heat within 2 games of the Knicks, miraculously. Like, this is after it looked like the Knicks might be a 2 seed, and the Heat, man, well, get used to the play-in. All of a sudden, the Heat are a half game back of Indiana. They're 2 games back of the Knicks. They're 2 games back of the Magic, too. I mean, it's like, wait a second. Is it too little, too late, or is it just enough at just the right time?
Getting healthy at the right time.
Oh, boy.
Kevin Love played his first minutes in over a month last night. What you saw last night in terms of your rotation, if Tyler Hero doesn't come back, which all the players and Spo continue to insist that he will come back and be available at some point. Obviously, I mean, when he went out, nobody expected it to be
Right.
this long. But if he doesn't come back, last night is your playoff rotation. The minutes that you saw last night, Jaime Jaquez is going to be probably that last guy in your rotation. If Tyler comes back, he takes from Jaquez primarily. But what you saw, including your closing lineup of Terry Rozier, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and then Haywood Highsmith and Caleb Martin in there playing defense and hitting threes. Look, they've been playing really good basketball as of late. The previous 2 wins were over the Blazers and the Wizards, so everybody discounted them. But now with the win over the Knicks and you get Joel Embiid and the Sixers on Thursday, it seems like they're starting to play in the right direction.
Dude, all I'm saying, Scary Terry arrived last night.
Scary Terry.
Mike needs to apologize.
Kevin Love,
capitulate.
Public
I heard
apology.
before, Kevin Love and Spo both said after the game, like the defense, like Scary Terry is comfortable now and he's arrived.
Hey, they put Jalen Brunson in the blocks, in the blockade. What is it? Stockade? That's what it's
Adam in
called,
the
right?
gulag.
Yeah. Oh man,
Stocks. I think it's just stocks.
stocks.
But Chris,
No,
he's
but if
go-
you ask Knicks fans, he was just fouled all night.
Oh.
And ask Tom Thibodeau.
Wait,
Just
but
fouled.
you're saying he's arrived now. He's coming off games in which he scored 27 points,
But
24
defensively,
points. Okay.
defensively is what I was talking
Mike,
about.
how do you feel about this?
If that's the Terry Rozier that you're going to get, who wouldn't like that? It's just Terry Rozier is entirely capable of going for 34 points.
We're not talking
and-
about the. I didn't know. I mentioned the points. We were talking about his
Yeah,
defense.
the
The
defense is
on
good.
Brunson.
I didn't watch last night. I don't really have interest in the NBA regular season. I'll be
Bandwidth.
there for the
But the
playoffs.
playoffs
Playoffs
already
started.
started.
Yeah, but the
started.
playoffs have been going on the ice for 2 months.
So you can take a break. If the playoffs have been taken for
If-
2 months, you can take a break, watch the NBA playoffs.
I'm telling you, the NHL has just been so good that I'd rather watch Ducks Flames than Knicks Heat.
Then Wemby versus Jokic.
This
You
guy.
fool.
Why would I want to watch Jokic versus Wembanyama? The Spurs.
Because it was,
Because it was
amazing.
incredible?
It was an amazing game.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, but the
Tell me
Spurs
about
stink.
it.
I'm with Mike on that.
No, but
Like,
but they almost won.
Tell me about it.
It-
so
he was-
what?
Stu,
Even if
when-
they had one.
I-
Stu,
I'm
Wemby
ju-
almost
I'm
had a
just-
quadruple double.
Just not really feeling the sport right now. That's all. And I'm happy that the Miami Miami Heat are winning, I'll turn it on come playoff time. I wish Terry Rozier was what you saw last night. He seemed to have a really good game. Terry Rozier is who he's always been. Always been.
Scary
He's
Terry.
going to do this.
Scary.
He's going to do
Bucket
this
getter.
once in the playoffs. Hopefully it's against Boston. That'll be great. And then the next game, he might go 0 for 7 in the first half and drive you crazy. He might end up with a 4 for 17 stat line. That's just who Terry Rozier is.
Mike, among other things that happen in basketball, since you were too busy watching little men skate around on ice.
Oh yeah, no, they're not tough.
Yeah, no. You know what's tough? Joel Embiid.
You were watching little men running around in shorts.
Not little men,
Like,
big
what-
men,
like-
big men, big men,
What is
big
that?
dogs.
What is
Oh.
that?
Joel Embiid came back last night.
Yeah, I was just looking at highlights. He's going to be back in time for that Miami Heat game. That's cool.
I'll
New
be there.
haircut.
Yeah, guys, it's just a personal preference. I'm glad Terry Rozier did well. I'm glad that Heat fans are feeling themselves again. As Stugotz mentioned, there were players hurt for the New York Knicks. The Miami Heat are running into some good luck. That changes with Joel Embiid now back into the lineup. Maybe they gave him a maintenance day because he came back against the Thunder, but they're catching teams at the right time now.
So we talked about Scary Terry putting Jalen Brunson in the hole, right? Prison style. There was one person who thought it was prison fouls out there, and that person was Tom Thibodeau. Take a listen to his post-game press conference.
Well, the thing, he's not going to play great in every game. No, there's no player in this league does. And so the challenge is to still find a way to win, which, he did a lot of good things. I think it's pretty good when you have 20 points and 10 assists, and the game is tied with a few minutes to go, and it wasn't an A+ game for him, but he's going to compete on every possession, and that's all you could ask of anyone. So missed shots shouldn't impact him. And again, it says 10 free throws, but he's getting fouled. It's really, I hate to say it, it's that simple. He's getting fouled. 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 He's getting fouled.
Tibbs needs to come home, I think.
By the way, my kids, when they saw Tibbs for the first time, they said, I swear to God, this is from the mouth of one of the 10-year-olds, that guy doesn't have a bald spot. He has a hair spot. I love you, Tibbs.
It's got the island.
He's getting fouled. It reminded me of, first of all, I sat there in that press conference, watched him answer the question, which was, Jalen Brunson had a tough shooting night and a bunch of turnovers. How do you feel? And that's why he started with, well, he's not going to have a great game every night. And it was a regular answer. And then at some point where he said 10 free throws, you can see his eye twitch and everything snap. And then it's like he just went into like spiral mode, right? And in person, I felt like I was the one having a stroke. Like, what's happening here? Do I smell toast, right?
Yeah, because his face doesn't really change as he's saying it.
It was like
The cadence is exactly the same.
It was like that CD skipping, like we were talking about yesterday.
And you smell playoffs.
I smell playoffs.
Were all the reporters
Were you
like,
smelling
looking?
toast?
So everyone else.
There was an actual eye twitch.
I don't want to run it back. It's a long video.
I didn't notice
But
it,
you
I'm
could
sorry.
see like his face, like glitch almost, and then it's like, oh man, this is the point that I've been angry about for a long time, and I can't hold it anymore. But here's the other thing I thought, listening to him say it's getting fouled. It reminds me of the Borat skit where he goes to a self-defense class and wants to learn about defending against a certain group of people, and he says, what if he comes after you with the claw? The claw, the claw, the claw. He's getting fouled. He's getting fouled. He's getting fouled. He's getting fouled. And I was just like, Borat? Is Jalen Brunson getting fouled? Like I just saw someone who got locked up.
Well, what Thibs is saying is he went to the line 10 times, probably should have went to the line 20 times. It doesn't matter to me. Like, the Knicks have been so impressive this entire year. They're going to be a playoff team.
Yeah.
This is as good as it gets for a Knicks fan if you're my age. It really is. Like, the fact that I know we had Ewing, we had those teams, they were great teams, but I had no idea Jalen Brunson was going to be able to be the best guy on a team and lead that team into the playoffs consecutive years. So,
Stugotz, let me ask you, as resident New Yorker,
yes.
do you ever see the tide turning on Brunson? Because New York does this, right? After a while, like if you don't deliver, it's like, man, this guy.
He's got to win some playoff series.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's won one.
I think his story is so unexpected that I don't think Knicks fans are going to get on him if they lose in the first round this year. I really don't, because no one expected this from Brunson.
I feel like there's a bunch of people, there's a long line of people who got first, who get whacked first before they get to Brunson, right? Like,
Randall's first in line.
Randall's absolutely first in
doubt.
line.
Yes.
Tibbs is not that far behind, even
Nope.
though I think he's done a great job.
Mm-hmm.
Leon Rose, what's his name? Josh Hart, even though they love Josh Hart. Mitchell Robinson. It's like almost everybody on the roster is going to got first before they get to
Brunson.
Before
It's
Brunson.
that they have him on such a great deal, and he's overplaying his deal so much that it's like, how do you do anything to a guy that you have control from a contract perspective who's giving you this output?
That's what I'm saying, Tony. It's all about expectations, right?
But I'm not talking about like the people in charge. I'm talking about the fans in the media. At what point? Because they turned on Patrick Ewing, like who was literally. If you look back, it's like this is the only good thing that happened to the Knicks for like 15 years.
I know, but Ewing came in with massive expectations, championship expectations. No one thought Jalen Brunson was going to lead the Knicks to an NBA title.
Yeah.
You know?
So many still don't think that, Stu.
How do you know? You're watching.
I'm not watching. I'll
Right.
watch. I'll watch in the playoffs, and like I don't know. There's just options now, and it's just not. They just don't care as much.
How are the NHL playoffs going?
The NHL playoffs have been going on for like 2 months. Every night there's a banger. Toronto plays Tampa today. Last night Nashville played Boston. There's just
naming cities.
There's okay. Well, okay. I guess
Giving us the schedule.
I guess you can disparage the sport that I'm presently favoring more. I mean, anyone that knows me over the air for 19 years, I've been primarily on the air, a Miami Heat guy. I love hoops. I love the Miami Heat. I'm the reason why there's this awful Twitter version of Miami Heat fans.
Mike.
In part, like Ryan Cortez doesn't exist without me. Jeremy Taché doesn't exist without me.
You made them.
I
Preach.
did.
Yes.
They're good. They're made
Yes.
from my image. I'm just telling you right now, I'm as bored with it as they are.
Jeremy?
I don't even know what to say.
Well, he's right.
Taking credit for me existing is a new one.
Yeah. Well, in terms of the on-air persona, you're very welcome.
Who's your daddy and what does he do?
I know the Knicks daddy. It's Bam Adebayo.
They
think Bam is a dirty player.
It's so funny.
They're the only fan base in the NBA that thinks that.
So, Jeremy, this is the fun part, right? I'm in a group chat with a bunch of my friends from New York who are all crazy Knicks fans. And that's how this theory landed on my doorstep about a year and a half ago, where they just started saying, Bam, dirty player. I'm like, what? And so they have like this great highlight reel of greatest hits by Bam Adebayo showing that he's secretly a dirty player. And my thing is, I think if Bam were a dirty player, the Celtics fan base would have sniffed this out a long time ago.
1,000%.
Would have been a much louder presence given that they played each other 8 million times in the last 4 years, including actual meaningful games as opposed to what most of these Knicks games have been.
Bam with an edge? Now that sounds appealing.
Hey,
I'm into
You
that.
wish he was a dirty player.
Yes. No, if there was an edge, I'd be all for that. Be a little bit dirty. He could afford some of that.
He was dominant last night, man.
He was great.
That's great. Again, the Knicks are a bit beat up, so I don't know how much we can read into these things, but it's great
They're
that
gonna be beat up.
It's great for them that Terry Rozier is more comfortable, especially defensively. And I think what really excites me is Haywood Highsmith probably coming online a little bit here, maybe getting himself into that rotation. I think on the perimeter, the guy can give the Miami Heat something defensively, and if he can knock down shots in a timely fashion and look like a guy that someone's going to overpay by about $16 million when he comes up for a contract, that's Heat basketball.
I just pulled him in.
I hear
Reeled him in just
passion.
like
I
that.
do. I hear passion in his
I
voice.
just
I
reeled
do.
in.
It's
It's
a
a 40-pounder.
Listen, you smell playoffs.
Yeah,
I mean,
smell it.
right?
I liken Miami Heat basketball at this point to the election coming up in November, which is I'll dial it up when I have to. I'm just like super fatigued with the ups and downs of the Miami Heat season and them playing just flat out unappealing basketball games. Jimmy Butler told me it was time, and then he took 3 games off. Like, it's just bring the games on. Too many superstars sitting. I don't feel like watching these bad games against the Wizards, even though I have occasionally. It's just I have options right now. Like any discerning sports fan, I'm just picking what's a little bit more appealing to me. There are times out, this is going to shock you, that I'm favoring baseball games.
No,
over.
get out of here.
Get out
Get
of
out
here.
of here. You're lying.
Right now,
You're gambling.
I am gambling, and
Okay.
I am gambling again. I've maybe bet 7 NBA games because I'm not going to bet on games that I don't know. And trust me, that takes a lot for me to admit because there are times that I just fly blind.
You bet on South Korean baseball during the pandemic.
Yeah, but I know that.
What do you mean you know it?
The Dinos were my team. Or I run in circles where people got a good hunch on a game, and I listen to that and I'll watch that. But when it comes to the NBA, it's just I don't want to watch it. I don't want to watch it right now. I'll watch during the playoffs. Trust me, I will come around to it, especially if the Heat are in it. Why do I have to explain myself so much? I'm just not feeling it that much right now. I'll be coming back.
But Amin is saying he smells the playoffs. The playoffs have begun.
No, it seemed like a cool atmosphere.
Right.
I'm just explaining what I just didn't feel like doing that last night.
I mean, I'm glad you smell the playoffs because coming in today, I thought I wanted to play a game, okay? Called If the Season Ended Today. Ooh. All right?
Yeah, okay.
So I'll sprinkle these in throughout the course of the show here. But in the East, if the season indeed ended today, in the East, you would have a 7-8 matchup play-in game, Heat-Sixers.
Oh, massive.
And a preview for that tomorrow night with Joel Embiid in the lineup, perhaps, maybe. We don't know, but
He'll play.
he'll play.
He'll play in
He
that
looked
game.
good
They
last
need
night.
it.
They need
They
that
need it, and it's not the second night of a back-to-back, so he has today to recover.
Jessica, I did not watch last night because I was watching a playoff game here in Miami. How did you look?
I did because the Knicks Heat game was blacked out at my apartment. That is like a 2-minute drive from the Heat arena, so that's great. Even though we have League Pass, couldn't watch it. Should have texted Jer Bear for his Bally Sports login, but
Could have done
I
it.
figured he was busy.
I mean, I would never share that.
I watched the first half. Embiid looked good. I mean, he looked like a little tired, a little gassed, but like he looked good. He had a huge brace on his knee, but overall, I was like, okay, not bad.
And a new haircut.
Yeah.
Did he have the Juju Watkins like in the commercial? You guys not seen that commercial?
I've seen the haircut where he's in the barber's chair and they
Yeah.
try different hairstyles
different
on him.
hairstyles, and then Juju Watkins.
See, I know
just tried
ball,
to
man.
Juju.
I know
You guys
ball.
watch commercials? I immediately zone out.
I watch commercial.
If
It's
you're
tough.
watching a live event, though?
I watch live events.
Immediately zone out.
I saw a bunch of. I think I saw that commercial during Iowa LSU.
I love commercials. I don't know why.
I haven't
sing
watched a
jingles.
commercial in like 7 years.
Do you have a structured
Immediately
settlement?
zone
You
out.
need
Need cash
now?
right now? Call JG
That's an
Wentworth.
older commercial, so I've
877 cash now.
Yeah, I saw
From Curb.
Yeah, I saw Curb last night based on your recommendation.
And?
I knocked out an episode. It's getting warmer.
Dude,
Yeah,
I'm
getting
telling
warmer.
you, man.
And I saw like Richard Lewis did look worse in this episode.
I'm telling
this
you,
was
Mike.
the script one. I thought the girl that was dating Funkhauser knocked it out the park.
What a great episode.
Yeah, she knocked it out the
The
park.
moment where Vince Vaughn realizes that she just works at the Disney store and he turns and looks at her.
That was so good.
Perfect. That was a perfect. That was an all time.
She was great. I had to look her up afterwards because I think she's going to be in a couple things.
Stugotz.
I said that well.
You're not playing the game correctly. You're supposed to choose a winner here.
Oh,
Yes.
Heat.
You're taking the Heat over
Yeah,
the Sixers.
yeah.
All right. If the season ended today, 9-10, Bulls and Hawks.
That's gonna be a good ass game.
Loser goes home.
Now is Trae Young playing or not?
If the season ended
Oh,
today,
season
you
ended
tell
today,
me.
Trae
I
Young's
mean,
not playing.
right.
Then that means
That's
they
how they
win.
play that game.
But are they better, though?
They are
without
better.
Trae Young?
Tell you what, if there's a game on the calendar, tomorrow night that I absolutely must see in the NBA, let me know and I'll give it a try. I'm giving baseball a
Heat
try,
Sixers.
and I'm liking baseball as I just attested to. Baseball changed all the things that I was asking for them to change, and I haven't done my part in giving it a fair chance.
This is you holding up your end
Yeah,
of
I'm
the
holding
bargain.
up my end of the bargain. And what I found out is I need a rooting interest to really follow the
and
sport.
see-through uniforms.
And see through well, the uniforms are. We got into it last. The uniforms are a disaster, and it's triggering.
Yeah.
it bothers me.
Dick Prince.
I have problems watching these games with mismatched grays. It's just really rough on the eyes. But the sport is flying by. The game is kind of pleasant to experience. Some of these teams are doing really creative things with their broadcasts, and I'm liking baseball. I'm glad I gave it a shot.
You sound very. You know what you sound like? You sound like someone in like couples therapy. Yeah.
I think my relationship with this microphone is often that.
Be nice if the Marlins could create a win. I mean,
Must win today?
It's getting there.
All right, we located him. I sent the urgent text out to Pablo Torre. Apparently, it found him in bed. He gathered himself. He splashed some water on his face. He wiped the crust out of his eyes. Put on his glasses.
Splash.
Yeah, there it is. And
I have an issue with you before we get to
With
Pablo.
me?
Yes, we're doing if this season ended today, and I keep asking you about particular matchups, and you're not giving me the result, and I need the result so we can continue to play the game.
Hawks.
What
Okay.
was the question?
It was the play-in game, the Bulls and the Hawks, the 9-10. You already have the Sixers, the Heat beating the Sixers. So
I've got.
thank you.
Okay, that's good music right there. I've got the Hawks winning.
Okay.
If the season ended today.
So Hawks, Sixers quickly, then we'll get to Pablo.
Sixers.
Okay, good. So the Sixers are the 8, the Heat are the 7.
Yes.
All right, continue.
I didn't know he's filling out an actual bracket here. So prepared, Stugotz.
Thank you.
Pablo, before we even allow you to say a single word on this program, let me just do this real quick.
I deserve that. I didn't come on here to talk about this. I feel blindsided.
Yes, you did.
I am wiping crust out of my eyes. I am wearing glasses. I do feel gross. I am very tired. Didn't want to talk about this, but I will talk about this because I guess I'm already here. So what do you want to know?
So, first of all, I don't believe you when you say you didn't come on here to talk about this.
I have an episode I'm trying to get people to listen to. It involves a giant scandal. It's really interesting, and yet I'm talking about something that I think is significantly less important. Significantly less important. So
you sent
just
the
wanna say
picture.
that.
You sent the picture to us in advance of this conversation.
I did not send the picture to you. I put it on, I guess, a platform where millions of people could see it. In fairness,
Okay.
so not directly for you,
Okay.
mostly for others.
Right.
Look, I feel bad because I kind of gentrified Lucy's whole fandom here.
Absolutely.
I showed up. I had no
Absolutely.
prior stake in this, and I felt myself guiltily sending Lucy just updates and videos,
With
almost
Jason
cameo
Sudeikis.
style, because I was at this game with
Jason Sudeikis.
with fucking Ted Lasso. Yeah, it's true.
The part that I thought was most offensive, if I may be blunt, was
We're ranking various parts that were offensive.
I just
okay?
know
didn't
what
there
was
were
the
multiple
most
parts.
offensive.
It
Was-
has to be
Okay.
him being an Iowa fan, right? So-
Well, no, it wasn't even that,
Go Hawks.
Stugotz, or it is related to that. There's a shot, right? Caitlin Clark hits a shot. They call timeout. We're going to break, and as we're going to break, they're showing the replay, and she's running back up court. And as they pan, I see the unmistakable figure, the silhouette of Pablo Torre doing the Caitlin Clark three-point celebration.
Oh, you saw that?
I saw that one. Everyone's got the high five.
Oh,
I saw the one where
yeah.
you're doing the celebration, and that, sir, is disgusting.
I was doing all sorts of celebrations. I was doing high five. They did 3 to the dome. I was doing that for a while. It was the look. I want to say this because I want Lucy to understand how much I enjoyed this on her behalf. That was as much fun as I've ever had at a sporting event. I truly mean that. It was one of the great. It was. I could give you. I mean, you guys watched it all. Everybody watched it. The entire country watched it more than anybody's ever watched a college basketball game played by women before ever. So I think you guys have a sense of this. But every time she pulled up, I stood. And I'm not just saying that to say, wow, look at me, the biggest Caitlin Clark fan. It was just that exciting. Like, I cannot stress how unbelievable the Albany, I think it was the MVP arena that we showed up in. This, like, tiny place contained one of the great sporting events in basketball history. Truly, I mean that. And so, yeah, I was doing all sorts of stuff that compromised my journalistic integrity. It's true. I didn't know Amin saw all of it, but I was doing all sorts of stuff. I was, like, hugging Iowa fans. I was sitting next to Caitlin Clark's family.
But you really don't
We
wanna talk
embraced
about
after
it.
the game.
No.
No, it seems so
Louise.
painful.
It was
Stereo
absolutely
Louise.
appropriate. It's absolutely appropriate to have that many. So you showed up at the arena. How'd you show up?
That's not important.
Hi.
It feels.
How'd you show up?
On 2 feet
So you walked
with
to
a
Albany.
jacket on.
You
with a
walked to
jacket
Albany?
on.
Or-
Took a
Look,
chopper.
I live in New York City,
You took a chopper?
and there are only so many ways to get to Albany.
The train, right?
And
You
so
took the
I got
train?
to Albany.
Right.
Did you take a chopper?
Absolutely, he did.
I look. All I'm here to say is that the best way to get from New York City to Albany is not by train and not by car, because of course it's so annoying to get to Albany. I hadn't been to Albany since the New York
grade
State
trip.
High School Debate Championship.
You took a chopper.
which we won, by the way.
Dork.
Are
Regis High
those-
School,
How
New
long
York
is the
State.
chopper ride?
Are those headsets from the chopper that they have on right
Look,
now?
guys, I'm not here to talk about planes, trains, and automobiles. Right? Come on.
How
what are we
long is
doing?
that chopper ride?
Mm-hmm.
And just out of curiosity.
If you were to take it.
I mean, hypothetically, it would be like 45 minutes door to door.
Well, I do want to switch gears because you had a pretty major story drop on your famous podcast, as Stugotz called it. Pablo Torre figures out.
Figure stuff out. Yeah. He's finding stuff out.
Yeah,
figuring stuff out.
Stugotz did not hear the episode, so I had to give him an encapsulation of a very sophisticated, very nuanced story.
I'm getting to it.
And it took me a good 5 minutes to explain all the details. So how can you explain this story to our audience in about 30 seconds?
Okay, so I'm just going to tell you to watch and listen to this episode. I promise it's worth it. I promise. It sounds boring because it's about mortgage lending. I promise that this explains a lot about America and the NBA. And there's a voicemail that I will use just to dangle for your audience specifically, if you can play that voicemail that we have in the episode.
Hey, buddy, hope you're doing good. Just want to say I love you. We took those suckers down. Fuck them. And we're going to keep sticking it to them forever. Fuck those guys. We're number one. We kick the shit out of them. Brokers are number one. UWM's number one. You're number one. We're all number one together. And fuck them. I fucking hate them with all my heart. And we're going to keep kicking their ass every fucking day. That's why I was here fucking 4 a.m. again today. I don't give a fuck. We're going to keep kicking ass. And so, love you, man. We talked about it. We waited for rates to go up. I'm going to win. You're going to win. Both are happening right now. Keep hiring. Keep building. Keep growing. Let's fucking go.
Sounds like a regular business voicemail.
What's wrong with that?
You should know that this episode is an interview I did with a reporter from Hunterbrook Media, a new media company that does investigation into public data. And so along the road of investigating the public data around mortgage lending in America, this reporter, Sam Koppelman, was led to the feet of Matt Ishbia, who happens to own the Phoenix Suns and the Phoenix Mercury, who happens to have paid a record price, $4 billion. That's the valuation of those teams in December 2022. And that's his voice. That's Matt Ishbia's voice. And who Matt Ishbia is talking about, what he's talking about there, is his desire to obliterate Dan Gilbert.
Wait a second.
The
The
owner of
same
the
Dan
Cavs.
Gilbert from the Cavs?
Look, the story is about how two NBA owners are fighting in the way that you just heard for control of an industry that you may recall was at the heart of the financial crisis in 08. And so what I'm saying here is that using public data, it has been revealed by Hunterbrook that approximately $39 billion over the last 4 years in American homebuyers' mortgages went to Matt Ishbia and United Wholesale Mortgage, the king of mortgage lending. These are independent brokers, okay? And I just want to explain very briefly here, and then you can listen to the episode. I'll stop talking about mortgages.
Okay.
In America, independent mortgage brokers are supposed to be the advocates for everyday American homebuyers. And what the data shows is that there are thousands upon thousands of them who send Matt Ishbia 99% of their business. 99%, despite saying we're going to shop around, get you the best deal. They send those people 99% of the business, Matt Ishbia, despite there being cheaper options elsewhere. So the question is why and how? And it gets to Dan Gilbert. It gets to Isaiah Thomas, which is how I started reporting the story. I fell into an Isaiah Thomas rabbit hole and was led to Sam's reporting on this. It's wild. It's genuinely one of the biggest stories in sports in recent years, as well as one of the biggest stories in business. It might be, as Hunterbrook claims, the biggest mortgage fraud since the financial crisis. And also, there's a guy saying cocksucker a lot and cursing like a zillion times in 30 seconds.
Market.
There's huge implications because of the housing crisis. There was all sorts of reform that followed. This is, even though there's flashy headlines with bleep sucker and an NBA story here, this is a business story that Hunterbrook Media broke. What kind of feedback are you hearing? How is this circulating in the business world?
Yeah, so it is a big deal in the world of business. There are repercussions to come, I am told. But Hunterbrook itself is a fascinating story. So I say public data, I keep on stressing that. What Hunterbrook Media does is it analyzes publicly available information. So that voicemail was actually leaked to a Facebook group of mortgage brokers. The data we're talking about, what Hunterbrook did was analyze truly giant, enormous databases of publicly available federal and county level mortgage information to find out, okay, what are Americans getting charged by these independent brokers? Who are the independent brokers really? How loyalist to Ishbia are they? And simultaneously, I should also point this out, what Hunterbrook does is they publish this information and an affiliated trading arm, Hunterbrook Capital, then takes out financial positions on that reporting. It's a new model to support investigative reporting. That itself is controversial, of course. They are transparent about all of it, but of course, the next step of this conversation is Matt Ishbia just released a statement yesterday, and I'll direct people to find it online so I don't misquote it, but he's saying this is all biased reporting by a hedge fund short seller. And some of that, I understand the misinterpretation, but a lot of this is going to be litigated out in public because Matt Ishbia is seemingly fighting for his life because that is the degree to which this is a serious story.
The author, he's written several really interesting books or co-authored several interesting books, including one with Eric Holder, who was the former Attorney General of the United States. How much of that relationship there informed kind of what he saw and what United Wholesale Mortgage is doing?
Yeah, I mean, what they did was consult legal experts. I mean, it's not just the fact that they went to the highest level lawyers in the country to say, does this sound fishy? They went to experts who connected the dots here, right? So what happened in 2008 was all of these regulations came to be about how you got to protect American home buyers because, again, mortgage brokers are at the center of it. And what this article that Hunter Brook published is arguing is that what Matt Ishbia and United Wholesale Mortgage have been doing is skirting those rules, is violating the idea of we need to protect the American home buyer by disclosing fully who these people are really working for and who they're working with. And so all of this, Amin, has absolutely very real legal consequences that have been vetted by people who are not employed by Hunter Brook Media, are not me. And by the way, the story goes to the top in terms of Janet Yellen, Secretary of the United States Treasury, pointing out that she is worried, this was months ago, about these private lending companies like UWM, like Rocket Mortgage, taking the place of the big banks who got essentially incentivized to leave this space because of regulation. And so what are these private lenders doing has been a question the entire time. What I didn't fully realize was how this question also helped explain a national NBA mystery, which is what in the hell is Isaiah Thomas doing with the Phoenix Suns?
Yeah,
that's the other part of the story.
And I think that's the important part of the story for sports fans who might hear mortgages and securities and lawyers and don't care about that. How does it relate in the sports world? There's two things. One is the relationship with Isaiah Thomas, and the other is that the finances that this team is buffered by are happening under these auspices, right?
Yeah, and look, Isaiah Thomas, we have confirmed, we did the reporting on this part, was an independent board member of United Wholesale Mortgage. What does this mean? It means that on a board of a company, you're supposed to have people who are there to, of course, decide what compensation the family gets. In this case, the family, the Ishbias who run the company, and also to be a guardrail against the malfeasance, the specific type of malfeasance that Hunter Brook discovered. And Isaiah Thomas was in a position to be that guardrail. I'm not saying that Isaiah Thomas specifically was devising the mortgage strategies that are discussed in Hunter Brook's reporting. What I am saying is that he, as a board member who was paid a six-figure salary annually, was there as a supposed guardrail, in fact, an independent one. And the independent part for years has been, it turns out, at issue. Because simultaneous to all of this, you may recall what Chris Paul was saying when he got traded from the Suns, right? He gives his interview to the New York Times, and he says 3 separate times the reason he is no longer with the Suns, that he got traded in that Bradley Beal deal, was because of Matt and Isaiah. Matt and Isaiah, Matt and Isaiah. He was just the latest voice to indicate that, in fact, one of the most influential voices determining the basketball operations of the Phoenix Suns has been Isaiah Thomas, who happens to be Matt Ishbia's childhood idol and a guy he trusts enough to put on the board of the biggest mortgage lending company in America. So all of this connects in a way that the episode spells out. These are really top-line descriptions, but it is incredible to realize how the dots connect through that NBA gossip story into, again, a potential enormous financial story.
Check out the episode. It's an important conversation. I'm glad we're having it. Pablo, you mentioned your last trip to Albany. You went to some sort of debate competition. Were you attending or competing?
I was the, this one I'll disclose. I was the president of the New York State champion Lincoln Douglas debate team. So
that doesn't answer the question, though. You might have just gone recreationally. as an enthusiast.
Get a ring for that, or what?
I met the criteria. To win a state championship. But was I competing in the debate itself?
Yeah.
Maybe not. Maybe not. I was the leader, though. I was the leader. My leadership is an important criteria that I met for winning a state title.
So we heard Pablo mention it. 12+ million viewers on Monday night for LSU versus Iowa. That is obviously the greatest mark in the history of the sport for women's college basketball, but also eclipsed every NBA game last year, including every finals game but one, which was Game 5, I believe, the clinching game for the Nuggets. And Jessica, you weren't here with us yesterday, so we had a very mansplaining conversation about women's college basketball, about the Caitlin Clark. And
We just
LSU.
reacted to the game, though. I feel like we did all right yesterday.
Yeah, but
we could have been a lot worse.
But it was a bunch of dudes. At the end of the
That's
day, we were a
true,
bunch
but
of
we were
dudes.
breaking down the game. We weren't
We
doing
did.
the societal thing. We
We
were just
didn't.
like, let's talk X's and O's.
We talked X's and O's, but we did it as a bunch of dudes. And so the conversation is incomplete without our resident
Ask
woman.
a lady.
Yes, ask a
We
woman.
did some of the societal stuff, but we're showing our ass without having a woman on the air with us. So
now we do.
Here's
we trot
woman.
her out.
Was that a question?
I don't know what happened there.
Here's woman.
Are you saying we can't have a conversation
No.
about the game without?
No, I'm
Jess?
saying no. Absolutely, we could.
Okay.
But things like Angel Reese, where
Right.
the perspective
I
would have been
tried really hard.
Me up
appreciated.
to say something with
No.
woman.
Yeah, woman have opinion.
Well, man,
By the way, Angel Reese should not declare for the WNBA draft. She should stay in college. I'm telling you.
There's a take.
She's
seems-
more. I'm
seems
telling-
like she's loving it.
She's going to make more money in college and be more recognized playing at LSU than she will once she gets to the WNBA.
that
In my
takes
opinion.
sucks.
In my opinion.
But Caitlin should go.
No.
Yeah,
They should
I-
both stay.
I think Angel Reese will make a lot of money in endorsements after college. I think what we've like talked about this so much, and it has been debunked by every former and current WNBA player who's talked about it. But the thing about endorsements and NIL is that you can still make them when you're a professional player. And in fact, because you're not in school and you're not stuck playing the college schedule for most of the year and you're not going to classes during the week, you actually have more time to do more endorsement deals if you want, and you have more availability to do other things outside of playing in the WNBA. Like, it's just completely different, and like this has been debunked several times over. Angel Reese has so much star power. She does not need to stay at LSU to have a relevant like NIL deal to make money off of.
in your face, Stugotz.
Well, I'm not saying it. I'm talking about the exposure she gets by playing women's college basketball. That thing outrated the NBA Finals that game. Like WNBA games don't do that.
Right, but
That's
these
good rebuttal.
These are certified needle movers, and why wouldn't they just move the needle over in the WNBA?
Ooh, he's got a point there.
That'd be like if Kevin Durant,
counterpoint.
when he was at Texas, if you're like, he shouldn't go, like he went to the NBA, and we still know Kevin Durant. Like he's.
Well, the difference is, though, like the college basketball is not as people like college basketball on the men's side are not as recognizable as NBA stars are. That's undeniable. Whereas when it comes to WNBA versus women's college basketball, there's an argument on where are you the most popular.
What I'm telling you is that every single WNBA player who has played in the NIL era and ones that haven't have said that this argument is just made up and it's not true. And I tend to take their word for it because no one pocket watches more than people who want to talk about how poorly the WNBA rates or how irrelevant the WNBA is. And I'm telling you, players, Sue Bird and Nneka Ogwumike had this really great roundtable with Paige Beckers and Aaliyah Boston a few weeks ago on Together, where they were talking about like really nitty gritty in the financials of this argument, because this has been something that people have talked about, especially with Caitlin Clark over the last year. And like, it's just not true. I mean, maybe in like some very specific circumstances you could make that argument, but overall, like every player is saying that when you go to the WNBA, you have more opportunity for endorsements. You can do the WNBA marketing deals. You can do all these other things, and you make a salary.
Jessica, this question was asked yesterday, and as Stugotz, you too, because you weren't here yesterday either. What's the number? Let's say I'm crazy Iowa booster who's a billionaire. What's the number you think I can offer Caitlin Clark to where she says, all right, one more year?
I mean, I'm sure there is everyone has a
Everyone
number,
has
right?
a number.
I don't know, because I think at some point, if you've been in school for 4 years, like it's exhausting playing college sports, right? Like you have two jobs essentially. You're playing sports, you're traveling a ton. Next year, especially the Big Ten schedule, you're going to be traveling a lot for West Coast games. I'm not even sure how they've sorted that out yet, but you have all of these expectations on you apart from just playing basketball. The schedule is grueling, and you have way less free time than if you're a professional. I have to imagine at some point you're just like, I don't want to do school anymore. I don't want to be living in Iowa anymore. I want to just be a professional. I want to play against the best players in the world. And that's what most players, I think, get to that point and are excited to do because they're competitors. And once you've, hopefully Caitlin, if you're an Iowa fan, will win the national championship this year, and you can check that off. But you want to play for a WNBA title next and do all the other things you can do as a professional.
Yeah, Jessica doesn't know how to play this game. Stugotz, what's the number you think? I'm a big crazy Iowa billionaire booster. What's the number where Caitlin Clark says, all right, one more year?
$10 million.
$10 million. I asked this question to Greg Cody yesterday because he said you couldn't pay me enough to go to a Backstreet Boys concert. And I said, of course I could. And he said, no, you couldn't pay me enough. And I said, Greg, if I gave you $500 to go to a Backstreet Boys concert. And at that moment, he immediately started thinking about it.
You had him at $500.
Well, of course, that quickly.
It's my first offer.
But, Jess, I'm not talking about endorsements. I understand that. Both of them, Reese and Caitlin Clark, they're going to make a lot of money in the WNBA. I'm just talking in terms of relevancy and eyeballs. That's all I'm saying. Like with lacrosse, right? Most lacrosse players will tell you, and I realize this is not an apples-to-apples comparison, but they'll tell you the height of their careers is playing in college lacrosse. And there are professional leagues for both men's and women's lacrosse, but they'll all tell you the best time they had, the most eyeballs, was when they were in college. And that's all I'm talking about.
Yeah, but WNBA players still get a lot of eyeballs. They may not be your eyeballs, but they do have, like, the ratings for the WNBA have gone up over the last 5, 6, 7 years, and they're in the position where next year they're going to be renegotiating a television contract and a new CBA, and the opportunity to be even more relevant is on the table, and I think it will happen given the increased exposure of women's basketball, and, well, not just women's basketball, women's sports in general, and I think this is one of my takeaways from the game on Monday night and the viewership being as high as it was, which is that I don't think people are really, like, giving enough weight to the fact that you can actually watch these games now. Like, you can find them on TV. You have networks telling you why you should watch them. Like, ESPN for years would air women's basketball games and have no shoulder programming, no halftime shows, like no post-game analysis. They would not put their best personalities on a table or a desk talking about it leading up to the game. Like, they just had it there and you maybe would know about it, you maybe wouldn't. And so the fact that like this is actually being treated like a real thing and a thing that people should watch, I think is a reason why fans have bought into it, and they're like, this is why this game's important, and I'm going to watch it. Everyone's going to be talking about it afterwards, and I want to be in on the fun and watch the game.
You mentioned the new CBA coming up. One of the things that, as I watched on Monday night, not the LSU-Iowa game, but UConn versus USC, I'm watching Juju Watkins, who's just a freshman, and I'm like, this whole you got to have 4 years in order to declare thing, it's not going to last long, can it?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Sorry, they were talking behind me, and I completely missed your question.
It was about Juju Watkins and the new CBA. Are they going to have age limits and restrictions like they do now?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I think like the last CBA had some restrictions on playing abroad that I think has tried to like shore up the WNBA influence and limit some of the opportunities so that the best players will be playing in the WNBA. But yeah, I'm not exactly sure about that. And I think that one of the things that ESPN has done really well, because they will be one of the networks bidding on the new WNBA rights contract, is that they're trying to market the younger stars in women's basketball and the current stars in women's basketball, because this only benefits them, and they've only really kind of shot themselves in the foot over the last few years not doing this. The ratings for women's basketball, Lindsey Gibbs wrote a really good story in Power Plays about the game on Monday night and how these ratings existed for women's basketball in the 80s, and then it went off network TV for 28 years once CBS got rid of the NCAA rights. So this is like completely just horrible, botched marketing and PR and everything by the networks in their own product that they pay for, and the NCAA fell ass backwards into an absolute hit despite not wanting to give any of these women support for years.
So $15 million, Caitlin Clark doesn't stay?
Make it 100.